Hey everybody, and welcome to EntrepreNINES. I'm John Wist.
And I'm Bonni Mace. We are two Enneagram 9s who took the big leap into the world of entrepreneurship at a similar time. And this is a space where we're inviting you to laugh and learn with us as we work to build businesses with soul. This is episode 45.
45. Man, we're getting so close to 50.
45.
Say what?
We're going to have a party.
A party at 50?
Yeah, I don't know what that looks like for a podcast.
Podcast party at 50.
Like you're going to tune in and it's just going to be like the whole time.
Just the whole time. It's just sick beats.
It won't be.
Maybe we just invite some friends on. We just have some people.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, we could just invite a whole bunch of people on.
We have room at this large table.
We do.
Thanks to And Studios in Art Farm, Annapolis. I'm learning the correct way
and
to
creative,
say them.
but it's okay.
And creative.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, man.
Which I guess.
We're still here.
Yeah, we're still here. So it's partially like they're kind of sponsoring in a way because
Yes.
they're allowing us to use this space.
Thank you.
So thank you, and creative.
And creative.
And Allison and Darren.
Yeah.
And this space, if you didn't hear in the last episode, will be available
To rent.
to do podcasting, which is awesome. So
Here's one thing I'd like to say in case you're out there like me and you think, I'd love to do a podcast, but I am too intimidated. When you rent the studio, it comes with a John Wist.
well, and equipment. So
Yes,
you don't have to like do it on your own.
But
Yeah,
even
for sure.
with the equipment, I think at first I'd walk in and be like, I need training. So it does.
Yeah.
It can come with the John Wist.
So this isn't like, okay, when I'm saying all these things, right? This is all of kind of the dream in a sense, but it's also quickly becoming reality. So
Here we are.
because here we are, right? So, but part of the dream or becoming reality is that we understand people will need some coaching, they'll need some support. And so part of that is like when we ultimately kind of get you scheduled, the hope is that first interaction between us will actually be you coming here and going through like a little bit of a training process so that you don't come in cold and feel like, oh my gosh, because it's a little like it can be a little intimidating, especially if you've never done this before.
Listen to our first episode. I bet you could probably hear the intimidation in our voice as compared to episode 45.
Probably true.
Yeah.
Probably true. I mean, it took us some time. It took us some time for sure. Yeah. To get used to it. So anyways, yeah. But I'm excited.
Your first thing will always be terrible.
It will be. It will be.
Unless you're like have beginner's luck.
Yeah.
But that's not a real thing.
I was listening to sidebar. I was listening to a podcast on the way here this morning. How I Built This, because it's my favorite.
Yep.
And he was talking to Adam Grant, and Adam Grant was talking about, I guess successful business people, CEOs, owners, all that kind of stuff. Like they are not afraid of no and aren't afraid of failure. And part of that is being willing to continue to practice over and over and over again. And every single time, to understand that it's never going to be the best, and that it's just another part of the practice. And that was really interesting just to hear like the best, most successful people are the ones who will push past the failure.
Like they're getting their reps in.
Yeah. And treat it as a rep. Yeah. Treat it as a rep. Yeah, for sure. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Adam Grant.
Yeah. Smart guy.
Yeah.
Real smart guy.
Lots of little gems he drops on the internet all the time.
Yeah, he does.
See him already. Yeah. I don't know. You must be under a rock. I feel like everybody reposts his stuff. That's why I'm saying
he is
just going to declare.
Yes, he
gets
shared a lot. Yeah, for sure.
Or your social media spaces are very toxic if you've never seen him.
Yeah, that could be also true. Could be true. Yeah.
If you haven't seen him, reevaluate your social media life. Okay.
Okay.
What are we talking about today, John?
So today we wanted to do, how many, have we been doing it for 6 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
September
Wild. Okay.
2023, we launched
Work Like a Nine.
Work Like a Nine.
Okay. So we wanted to take a moment kind of out of our regular schedule, I would say, because we're getting a rhythm now, to talk about Work Like a Nine. Celebrate 6 months.
6 months.
Talk a little bit about like what the experience has been like, what we have done, and kind of what we want to do moving forward. Because there'll be some changes, but also some of those changes are a direct result of us practicing it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're a direct result of us actually just doing the thing versus it being like this idea that we just kind of like, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah.
And to make sure members who are listening, because they do listen, don't freak out.
Yeah.
None of these changes are going to impact you. Or we would have told you already.
Right. This isn't like a big like, you know, surprise or anything. Yeah. Okay.
Now it's $45 a month. No, we're not doing that.
No.
Price is staying.
Price is the same.
Price is staying.
Okay. So first of all, if you've never heard of Work Like a Nine, Bonni, what is Work Like a Nine?
Work Like a Nine is a month. Well, so it's a co-working group that we stay in touch all month, but we gather together live via video call once a month.
Yep.
Right now, the third Monday of the month when it's not a federal holiday, which we ran into
a lot.
2 months in a row. Thank you, January and February for that.
It feels like a lot.
It felt like a lot, but it was January.
Just 2 months. Yeah.
So we gather together online and we talk, live in that once a month space. And it's a community of entrepreneurs who are focused on building businesses without losing our soul. That's kind of our common value.
Yep.
And most of us are Enneagram 9s.
Yes.
So we have had a non-9
correct
join.
Yep.
And we talk a lot about what it's like to build a business as an Enneagram 9.
Yeah.
And so that does end up shaping our conversation a lot. And I'm able to offer like coaching specifically geared towards 9s because most of us are.
I do feel, and just as we were prepping for this, I do feel like that is one thing that we have. We walked in with maybe some flexibility or some freedom of like pretty much anybody can hop in here. And I think one thing that we have learned as we've experienced Work Like a Nine is that because we attract 9s, right? Like, because we attract other people who are 9s, the conversation and a lot of the like things that we're dealing with revolve around being a 9.
Yeah.
And so we're starting to learn that it might not be as comfortable of a place for other Enneagram types. That's not saying we're going to exclude them. No. But it is saying that like if you are a 9, like I think that this is a very helpful space to be in.
High value for sure.
Yeah.
Like I can guarantee high value if you are an Enneagram entrepreneur, if you will, who values building a business without losing your soul. Yeah. If that's a high value. You will not appreciate this group if you're a build it and sell it kind of entrepreneur. Yeah. You will not.
For sure.
And that's fine with me because there are other groups for you.
Lots of them.
Many other groups for you, but this has been a great community so far. So the structure that we follow when we get together live, it's an hour long Google Meet call. Yep. And the first 30 minutes, we are either focused on a particular topic that either John or myself are teaching or we're co-teaching. Yep. Or we are focused in on a specific trouble of a fellow Work Like a 9 person in a hot seat kind of model. Yeah. And they bring, this is the big struggle I've been working. They fill out a form ahead of time. John and I come prepared with resources and further questions. And we just dig in deep to like, what is going on here? What does the room have to offer? What are 1 or 2 or 3 steps you can take forward from this point? So that'll be the first 30 minutes, either a topic or a hot seat. And then for 20 minutes, we try to do like a Q&A. Here's what I'll say. We don't always stick exactly to these timelines, but this is what we loosely follow.
It's the guardrails.
It's the guardrails. Yeah. So we try to get all 3 of these things in every time. And then the last 10 minutes, we do a goal review from the previous month, and then we do a goal set for the next month. So that way we're continually making progress. Because if there's one thing an Enneagram 9 needs, it's a deadline. Yeah.
So true.
I need it.
So true.
All the time.
I will say about that one, I do feel like, to me, when I look back over the 6 months that we've done it, I think probably the goal set was something that we all felt maybe a little prickly towards at the beginning, if we're being honest,
for real.
Right?
Yeah.
But it is the thing that honestly, I think when you look back, like people are now doing the things they said that they wanted to do. Like when we do the review before we set the next one, there's a whole lot more now than there was at the beginning. There's a whole lot more. Oh yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
Like
I agree.
A lot of that.
And I'm seeing the benefit of focusing my effort here.
Yep.
And knowing I had to come back and like tell you guys.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because there's accountability, right?
Yeah.
Like I have to kind of be prepared to share about progress or not. And there's no judgment there.
There's no shame.
But
honestly,
I
John,
do feel like it's been great to see the progress.
Yeah.
Too.
I think I'm the one that shows up most often and says, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And some of that is the stage of business I'm in right now as things are just like changing and a lot of the work is internal. So I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. And then it's like, actually, I needed to change that a little. One day I will meet these goals. It'll be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, we both make sure that if you show up and you haven't done your goal, we're not like, for shame.
Right.
Come back better next.
Well, usually the question, I think it's a good opportunity too. Like usually the question is, okay, well, what got in the way? Or like, did you want to carry over some of that? Like life doesn't stop because that last month, do you want to carry over your goal? That kind of a thing.
Or like, what did you shift and realize you needed to focus on? We have had that conversation before too. Like, what is it that you ended up realizing? Oh, I thought I needed to focus here, but really
100%,
I needed to focus here. And then they do. And even that has been like helpful, I think, as people have progressed forward because life's on. When we're not in a Google Meet call, we have the Voxer channel.
I had it pulled up.
And in the Voxer channel, I am committed to, there it is.
If you're on YouTube,
it's this is what it looks like. It's funny because Voxer was meant to be like a voice app, but we definitely text more.
Oh, way more.
We definitely are using the text function most. And my commitment is to show up with a prompt each week. And I'm pretty good about that unless I'm sick and dying.
Yeah. No, you've been great about it.
Yeah.
So
I think the one time I missed, I was sick and dying.
You were.
And I was in Texas.
Yes.
Simultaneously.
Yeah, all the things at one time.
Yeah. So I came back like after New Year's and was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I was dying and sick and running around Texas like a crazy person coughing on all the Cowboys. So it was rough. But that's the only time I feel like
coughing on all the Cowboys.
Coughing on all the Cowboys. That's how it felt.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's kind of what the community is. That's what you get for your $9 a month. You like that? $9 a month because it's work like 9. And it's great. It's a low. The idea is for it to be a low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Like we want it to be affordable.
Yeah.
And we want you to get a high value out of it. And based on the feedback we've received, I would say that people are receiving a high amount of value out of it when they have the time to be there.
Yes.
And show up.
Yep.
So we've already had some people who like haven't been able to show up, and John and I have been like, "Hi, you're still paying and you're not here. We don't want that for you.
Yeah.
This is not the goal."
Yeah. So we're not going to be like a big corporation that is just like continues to take your money when you don't use the thing. Like we're going to let you know like, hey, it's totally fine that you have decided that this isn't quite right for now.
Yeah.
But we're not going to make you pay us for not being here.
Like, please don't do that.
Take your
you come back when you're ready.
Take your $9 somewhere else.
Yeah. Because I mean, there are seasons like that, It is like you know, like come back when you're ready, when the time is right. So, we have had people do that already too, which I think is important.
So, real quickly, we just thought we'd give you a quick overview of some of the things that we've discussed, so you can kind of get a feel for, I think it's maybe easier to envision kind of the hot seat kind of a thing because, we can all think of like a problem that we had that we would love like the hive mind to chip in on. And that is basically hot seat. But when we talk about, opportunities for us to kind of present, some ideas or some different tools or things like that, I think sometimes that can get a little probably fuzzy for people. So,
what the heck can they possibly be talking about that applies to a gardener and a video creator and an Enneagram coach and an organizer? Like how can we possibly we're doing it? So
just a couple examples of those things, like social media. We spent a whole time on social media. We went wide and then kind of deeper into some ways, and what's been cool for us, I think, is like we have started to learn who's in our group and be able to kind of target the information towards. So like we were able to say like, Melissa, like you might want to focus on X platform, not X. because it's
not because that's a thing now, John.
Dang it.
Dang it.
How dare you, Elon Musk?
Insert pot for me.
Yeah. You know, maybe you should be focusing here because it sounds like that would be more beneficial. Like you're using your time and your value better there versus like Bonni needs to be here or maybe wants to migrate somewhere else, you know, or something like that. So those were kind of the conversations we were able to have about social media. Tacking onto that, we talked about AI.
Yeah. That's a fun one.
Which was a fun one because I think the general consensus beforehand when we said we were going to talk about it was, kind of like scary / I don't know anything about this.
Yeah.
So it was cool to kind of reveal some ways that we could use it within our businesses and also acknowledge
there's some scary stuff.
Kind of creepy.
Yeah.
It's
okay to feel afraid.
Creepy. Yeah.
And it's okay to engage. That's kind of how we landed on there.
Yeah.
And here, and we give some really practical ways of how you could use AI in your business and how John is like a junkie using a lot of AI.
A bit. I tend to try all the things.
Yeah.
So
in nice ethical ways. And that's a lot of what we talked about too.
Right.
So you can Google and learn some of the stuff we talked about, but what we're bringing in is like, okay, now how do we use AI without losing your soul?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Like without sacrificing
putting it back
your value.
within that. Yeah. Inside those rails again. Yeah. For a hot seat, we've talked about hiring employees, which is kind of interesting because like the person who was asking about it is the only one who hires employees.
Yeah. We are not there yet.
So that was a great conversation though, because I think also, and this is, you know, I think it's again, something I heard on the podcast this morning about
how we built this. Thanks, Adam.
Adam Grant. Like people who come from outside certain contexts are the best people to speak into those contexts. And so like, I think that was one of those situations where it was like, we've never hired, well, I have, but like as a contract, but we have never hired employees really.
Yeah.
And so how would we approach this situation knowing we've never hired, but how would we?
Yeah.
And what kind of wisdom can we offer to someone who is?
And so, like John and I were able to pull from previous like leadership experiences and saying like, here's what's worked for me as a 9 leader and here's what's not worked for me. And here's what, you know, has not worked for the person I've been leading. And so we did have some of that, but I agree, like a lot of the value came from, okay, like let's all figure this out together because maybe one day this will be us. Yeah. And maybe one day we will want to have this thought and this conversation and we have the resources. And so let's like wholeheartedly support this person who's going through it right now. Yep. And glean when we can. That was fun.
Yeah. Ahead of the holidays, we just talked about holiday stress. Yeah. How to not get too deep into it and how to try to handle it healthfully,
wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Something like that. That was one where I really pulled in a lot of Enneagram coaching.
Yeah, that 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked a lot about stress path and your growth path and how to make those choices and even like embrace some of the stress and, you know, like not make yourself feel bad for having it, just embracing that reality. And that was a good conversation. We did that before any of the holidays really ramped up. Yeah. And so it gave everybody good space to say, okay, here it comes. Yep. Now I feel more ready for it. Cause especially this is another Enneagram 9 thing. Like we don't want to be disturbed by the inner waters. And so what I'll do is put it off as long as humanly possible. Yeah. And I know I don't need that. Yeah. And so it did kind of all break us into like, okay, we're entering the choppy waters, whether we want to or not. So what can we do?
Talking about it and thinking about it. Yeah. That was good.
It was fun. It was a fun conversation.
And then the last one we did, I think was really fantastic.
Oh, I loved it.
Which was, we basically kind of reviewed our quarter, which it's, you know, the quarter wasn't quite over yet, but like we kind of did a check-in and a reflection of our quarter in our businesses and in ourselves, you know, kind of what we were learning, what we were changing or kind of shifting, you know, what we were anticipating for the next quarter. And it was just a really good, I think for me, I don't know what you walked away with, but like for me, it showed how similar we can be in seasons, even though, you know, like we've not all been doing this for the same amount of time.
Right. We're all kind of all over the map as far as length of time we've owned our businesses. Yeah. But Yeah. No, I agree. It was really helpful. For me, I can get stuck in a lot of like all the what I need to do,
Yeah.
and forget what I have done.
Yeah.
And I've learned kind of being trapped in a place that never celebrated any accomplishments before, that I need to remind myself to celebrate when there's been progress.
Yeah.
So being able to do that in a community felt, because we did a lot of celebrating of growth and
for sure.
accomplishments and whatnot.
Yeah.
Doing that in a community kind of made it feel more meaningful.
Yeah.
I think like I could have just been like, I'm going to buy myself a cupcake. Right. Like, but there was definitely like added benefit to being able to like look into the eyes via computer screen of other people and then be like, yes, that is amazing. Like, good for you.
Yeah.
You know? That was really cool.
To hear the encouragement, but also I think feel, the similarities in the community of like, oh, this is something I can share.
Yeah.
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 I don't have to just celebrate by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Where are we going, Bonni? So where are we going with this thing?
Okay, right now the reality is, and John and I both actually, we love this about Work Like a Nine, and it's a model we want to continue forward.
Yeah.
Is that it's a small group of people.
Yep.
And we're great with that because it gives everybody a space to speak without the forever 9 struggle of, should I speak right now? Does someone else have something more important to say?
Yeah. Like, is this my time?
Yeah. Like that's there. We are good. We are able to give everybody space to reflect back.
Yeah.
Or ask questions or whatever. So it's small. Mm-hmm. And we think more people could benefit at the same time. So it's 100%. Kind of this paradox of like, we love it like this. Like John and I are perfectly content for it to continue at this size. Mm-hmm. And we realize what benefit we're gaining from Work Like a Nine.
Yeah.
And so we want to offer that out there to those of you who might be in the same boat and you might be doing your little solopreneur thing and you might be like, I think I'm crazy. Please come and see you're not.
Yeah.
Like, please come and see that you are not the only one with this struggle.
Yeah.
Because if you're an entrepreneur and all your entrepreneur friends are 8s or 3s or, 1s or 2s, or these high capacity people, not to say that we don't have high capacity, but to access the capacity is harder work.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You will feel validated
in
a lot of that struggle. So
it's really good.
It is small. Mm-hmm. And we want more people to experience the benefits of this.
Yeah.
And it will not end up being a group of 100 people at a time. Right. Like John and I have already talked about, okay, what's our breaking point where one group becomes 2?
Yeah.
And like in order to keep the space
manageable.
Yeah.
And vulnerable and authentic and open. Like, I think all those things get harder and harder the more people you have in them. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was, I've loved my time in my coaching groups that I've done. Mm-hmm. At the same time, there's still like 25 people.
Right.
And there's just not a lot of space sometimes to get a word in or to ask or whatever it may be. And so I think that is the tension that we're running up against in some ways is that like we want it to be accessible, comfortable, vulnerable space. And it can only be that way for so long as far as the number of people goes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think one thing that's really important to me is making sure that you feel seen.
Yeah.
And you're like on your journey, wherever you are as an entrepreneur, whether you are hiring employees or whether you're like, I don't know who I'm trying to sell to.
Yeah.
There's everybody kind of in between. We span the whole gamut, but we're able to see you and affirm and say, I've been there or I'm getting there and I could empathize with where you are in this feeling difficult or in this feeling like a huge win or in this feeling like this is my fuzzy next or whatever. Like all of those things are I want to be able to really see you. Right. And so we'll maintain the level of intimacy but also be able to include more people. So
yeah. I think before, because probably so far we've not really mentioned any changes. Really,
that's true. These are all things.
This is all just what has been and what will be.
Yeah.
So I think we hold it. I think that we hold the change for a second.
Okay.
Can we just talk about some of the things that we've been sent some of the little mini testimonials we've gotten from our friends.
I went on our Voxer right before this and was like, hey, why would you tell other people to join this? And they were like, really, in the next 30 minutes? And it was like, no pressure. This isn't being graded. So here they are chiming in. I'll pull one that wasn't exactly a response to this prompt, but fits the bill. Yeah. So this is from Melissa, and she owns a cut flower farm in the North Midwest, right? Mm-hmm. Midwest. Yeah. North Midwest. Anyway, she said about our last session, I learned so much from hearing you all talk today and how you each struggle and work with various aspects of our 9 personality in the context of business. The questions were really great. Thanks. And I love that.
Yeah.
That was unprompted.
That was great. Yeah.
The next one I prompted.
Yes, you did.
Mm-hmm. You want to read that one?
Sure. And this is from Holly. She says, I love Work Like a 9 because it honors where each person is at in the journey. Being a solopreneur is tricky to navigate and lonely sometimes with all the intense ups and downs. So it's nice to have a community of coworkers to call in when we get stuck. The Voxer group is especially valuable, and members share helpful resources and tips. Thanks to Bonni and John for building a precious jewel of a group that will only get closer knit and better over time.
Oh, man. Thanks, Holly. She's an organizer in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, so, she's wonderful.
If you're interested in any of those things, you just give us a message and we'll hook you up.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
Another thing is it's this growing network of like, oh, I know somebody, who can do this.
Yeah.
So thank you, Work Like a 9 people, through those little moments of Work Like a 9er.
I don't know if that works, but
my face says maybe not. Anyway,
going for it in the moment.
I love it. We'll workshop it. But I mean, this is kind of some why you should jump in and be a part, and the real lived benefit of people who are already part of the group.
So the only thing that we're going to change for now, small thing, very small thing, is we along with the flexibility we started with just like who is being a part of the group. Some of that flexibility we wanted to extend to like time, right? Whereas like you can just kind of join us whenever, whenever you want to be in and out. And I think what we've realized is like out is definitely like still on the table. Like if you need to jump off whenever the train, like jump off the train. The in ramp maybe needs to be slightly different. And part of that is so that we can both grow yet hold space. I think is kind of like
that's a good way to
the motivation, right? Where like we want to grow and we want to give people the space, but yet we also don't want to overwhelm the space with too many people. And so,
or like a new person every month, because it shakes up the dynamic.
The dynamic changes, and you're learning new people. And so, like something that we want to do starting in the summer is close off the group for like 6 months, and every 6 months open it back up for kind of like a next round of enrollment, and then kind of keep that cycle going. I mean, I know personally from groups that I've been in, like that's a very common way to do things, and there's honestly a reason for it. Like the reason is so that people understand that there are boundaries, and that there's value associated with the boundary. And so I think that makes a lot of sense for us. I mean, I think that we find value in that, and we find value in the sense that we can still continue to have people join in on the journey, but at the same time, it is giving time and space and attention to the people who are there in the moment, and not worrying so much about the next person to jump on next week.
And I'll say from like a practical, as the people who own the business space, this also helps John and I get more focused in promoting. Because I will say over the last 6 months, like we did a hard, run up to opening Work Like a 9, and we pushed it really hard. We did a whole series, and that was good. And it was wonderful. And then we got done with that. We're like, oh, good. And like, we just haven't talked about it.
Right.
And we haven't pushed it on our social. And that's because it would be exhausting, I think, to promote it at the level it deserves all the time. And so I think for me, because, John does a lot of the technical editing and production of this podcast, and then the marketing falls on me as agreed. And so I do think for me, like a lot of it is also like, okay, no, we're going to be able to give this the airtime that it deserves. In the sort of intensity it deserves. And I recognize that that's not something I have capacity for all the time. So just having the doors open all the time is going to disservice it in the long run anyway.
100%.
Yeah. So that's the big change, but we're not going to make that change until June. And
Right.
so if you're listening to this now and you want to jump in whenever you feel like it, now's the time. Now is the time, because we will close the doors
in June.
Yeah. Part of this too is like just embracing the flexible needs of summer and recognizing like everybody has crazy schedules in summer. And there may be some months that we have to like shift the date around like we did over the holidays, which that would have been really tricky. If we were having people jump in all the time, even over the holidays, is we wanted to, show up on a day that everybody could be there. And
absolutely.
So we've been committed to that too. So I'm excited about all of it.
Well, I think it's cool because we, again, kind of a behind the scenes kind of a look of things. Like we sat down, was that before the first of the year? Was it end of last year that we sat down and kind of just talked through, or was that after the first of the year?
It was a snow day. Yeah, it was after the first of the year. The kids were supposed to be back in school.
Yeah.
And I was like, John, come over and let your crazies run with my crazies. We're stir crazy.
And we'll work. And I think part of that was like we sat down and talked about the value that we have for Work Like a Nine and how we did want it to grow. And kind of this is the next evolution of that, but it's also like staying true to that original vision of like, this is just like at its simplest, like this is available space for people like us to just sit down for a little while and just like talk, just like hash it out, like what
with people who get it, get it
right, exactly. So
I mean, that's kind of what you and I do on this podcast, so it's sort of
it's also an extension of
it's an extension of us in that way, but it's even more of a conversation because when John and I are in the ball, we plan these conversations.
Yeah, it's so true.
And
which was another value for us this year. To be on the ball. Plan the conversation.
More intentional.
So,
and while we do plan the structure of Work Like a Nine, we also leave space for it to go where it needs to go. Last month we did not get to our goal set, and I said, here's how we're going to modify our goal set because this is the conversation now that needs to continue. But also we stay to our hour. We believe in the time. And honoring the time too. So we can't always say that about the podcast. Sometimes the podcast gets away from us.
We definitely linger.
It's the way we nines talk. It's meandering.
I know.
Is the word.
I know.
Meandering.
I like that. Okay, that's okay.
Makes it sound better.
Nothing wrong to meander.
No, sometimes you got to figure out what you mean.
Just go meander through the woods.
Yeah. I usually just tell people, I'm like, hold on. Verbal processing is coming.
Here we go.
Get ready for the meander with me. Link arms with me while we meander.
No, okay. Quick question.
Okay.
Enneagram question.
Okay.
All right. So like, I get that part of it. Like us, like we just kind of like all of a sudden start to verbal process and meander our way. Are we also the delayed processors too, who like we have to take our time, but then once it comes, we just like, bleh, or is that just me? Like, is that more of a like individual kind of?
Yeah, I think that's more individual because I'm like a quick processor.
Yeah.
For
you
a
were
lot
definitely
of
quicker
things.
than me. So
yeah. Yeah. And there are times that I recognize I'm not quickly processing, and that's when my meander needs to kick in.
Interesting.
And so whenever I don't like have quick access to my gut in something, I'm like, I need to talk around this a lot until and it's sort of like a vulture circling of like, I can see it. Let me get closer.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that's how I tend to do it.
So I think, so I see some similarities, but it's just kind of opposite direction in the sense that like I hear what my gut says, and then there will often be times where I meander talk through my processing of what my gut said and ultimately arrive at what my gut said.
Yeah. You just need to like convince yourself your gut was right.
Yes. All the time.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's where my meander comes in, I think sometimes is like in that convincing process.
Yeah. I think that's right. I think cause I definitely have the like, I'd like to disagree with my gut thing a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think I have a really strong 8-wing. So when I believe in my gut, I really believe in it and I can get there quickly.
You stick there. Yeah. Yeah.
However, that has been a work of health and growth. And I will say before I would have the gut process and I'd be like, well, that's wrong. Now I know the wrong thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like would immediately try to be like, but what do these people want? And I'd kind of be like, shh, God, don't say the things. Let's figure out what John wants. Shh.
Yeah.
We're focusing here now. But I've grown away from that.
That's good. That's good. Okay.
So,
Well, that's good. Okay. That was for free, everyone.
Yeah.
Just a little Enneagram.
Yeah. I'll say in your experience with me, you came in on the me like leaning into my gut more
Right.
version of myself.
Yeah.
That confuses people. When you previously haven't been that person.
Yeah.
And then you let yourself become more of yourself. And
then
people are like, hold on, I thought you just agreed with me all the time. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Anyway, so that's not a
Where'd you
conversation
go,
for now.
merger?
Yeah. You used to just pump me up and now you're disagreeing with me. Like, and you're disagreeing with me strongly and passionately. Like, what is
opinions?
this?
What?
Yeah. How dare.
Yeah.
And that's how it feels sometimes.
That's funny. Okay.
It's good.
Well, this is the kind of conversation you could have if you come to Work Like a 9.
It's true. We do go there.
We ask these questions.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff.
It's good. And I'm not going to lie. I send good follow-up emails. And sometimes this month I even leaned into like, ooh, I saw something and I did a little sidebar coaching.
Yeah. Nice.
Maybe that's my own boundary I need to work on. But it felt worth it and I appreciated it. And I am rooting for this person that you leaned into. And so,
that's part of, I feel like it's part of the gig. Part of the gig is like, when you see it, just saying it.
Yeah.
That's part of it. So.
And I am.
Oh, good.
And you do.
So.
Work Like a 9.
For now.
Yeah.
You can go right now. To entrepreneurship.com and sign up for Work Like a 9. And you can join us in our next meeting.
Which is tax day. Wait, when is this episode coming out? We may have to edit this part.
Okay, that's fine.
If this doesn't come out before tax day, then it's tax day. And if it's not that, then it's the third Monday in May.
There it is. All right. So third Mondays of every month are when we typically meet. So as of right now, you can go to EntrepreNINES.com, sign up for Work Like a 9 for $9 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Our big change, which is a small change, is not happening until June. And that is that we will close off enrollment in June and then open back up in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you need to know.
That's what you need to know. And we would love to have you. And you will benefit from it.
Yeah.
And I love that our fellow Work Like a 9 people can verbalize how they've benefited so far. So
that is awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Hey, while you're here, whether you're here listening or you're here watching, go ahead and subscribe. And if you want, give us a rating and review. Yeah. Or if you're on YouTube, as we talked about last time,
give us a comment.
Say hello. Tell us what you're thinking.
We'll say hi back, and we will not shame you.
Yeah, if you have,
or troll you.
Honestly, actually, if you have questions about Work Like a 9, like if you throw it in the comment, like
that's a great place to go.
Definitely respond to that. So, yeah.
It's a great place to go. And everything, links that you need are going to be in the show notes, and along with John and I's socials, where we are sometimes active. And I am being more active on our EntrepreNINES Instagram space as well. So if you know an Enneagram 9 who is a business owner, please refer them to our podcast or to our Instagram or to our YouTube and let them know that they are not alone in the world. There are other people doing this thing and trying to do it well. So thanks for listening today, my friends.
Yeah. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.